Are you tired of apologizing for who you are? The Stoics would tell you, stop seeking permission to exist. In a world that constantly pressures you to fit in, play nice, and tone yourself down, Stoicism offers a different path, one of self-respect, resilience, and unapologetic authenticity. If you're ready to break free from unnecessary guilt and start living on your terms, here are 7 Stoic truths that will change how you see yourself forever. Truth number 1, other people's opinions are not your problem. The Stoic mindset, control what you can, ignore the rest. Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor and Stoic philosopher, famously said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." Realize this and you will find strength. What does this mean in today's world? It means that people's opinions of you are outside your control. You can't stop someone from judging you, misunderstanding you, or gossiping about you. And frankly, it's not your job to do so. Yet, how much time do we waste obsessing over what others think? We hesitate to speak up, dress how we want, or make big life decisions because we're afraid of criticism. But ask yourself, what do you gain from trying to control something you never had power over in the first place? Most people don't even think about you that much. Here's a harsh truth. Most people are too caught up in their own insecurities to care about yours. We often assume that people are constantly judging us, but in reality, they're too busy worrying about how they are being perceived. Everyone is the main character in their own story. You're just a passing thought in their day. And even if someone does judge you, their opinion doesn't change anything about your reality. If someone thinks you're not good enough, does that make it true? If someone dislikes you, does that make you unworthy? The only opinion that actually affects your life is your own. Think back to a time when you held yourself back because you were afraid of what others would think. Did their opinion actually impact your life, or was it just a fear in your head? Freedom comes from indifference to judgment. Epictetus, another great Stoic, taught that a truly free person is one who doesn't depend on outside validation. The moment you stop needing approval, you become unstoppable. But let's be honest, this isn't easy. We've been conditioned to seek approval since childhood. The key is not to fight against criticism, but to accept it with indifference. Someone doesn't like you? So what? Someone disagrees with your choices? Let them. Your peace is worth more than their opinion. The modern world thrives on outrage. People will judge you no matter what you do. So if judgment is inevitable, why not live life exactly how you want? Ask yourself, if you stopped caring about what people think, what's one thing you would do differently today? Your life, your standards. At the end of the day, you're the one who has to live with your choices. The crowd won't be there when you're alone with your thoughts. The critics won't walk in your shoes. So why let them dictate your life? The Stoics knew that real strength comes from within. If you live by your values, you'll never need external validation. Next time you catch yourself worrying about someone's opinion, pause and ask, does this opinion actually affect my life, or am I just giving it power? If it doesn't serve you, let it go. Truth number 2, authenticity will offend someone, and that's okay. The Stoic view on approval, self-respect over popularity. Seneca once said, if you live in harmony with nature, you will never be poor. If you live according to what others think, you will never be rich. In other words, if you live by your own principles, you'll have a fulfilling life. But if you constantly shape yourself to fit other people's expectations, you'll always feel empty because you're not truly living your life. Yet, so many of us spend our lives walking on eggshells, afraid of being too different, too bold, or too honest. We try to make everyone comfortable, even at the cost of our own authenticity. But here's a hard truth. No matter what you do, someone will disapprove. Someone will find a reason to be offended. Someone will think you should be more or less of something. So why not just be yourself anyway? The reality, some people want you to stay small. Authenticity can be threatening, not because there's anything wrong with being real, but because it forces others to confront their own insecurities. When you stop apologizing for who you are, it reminds others that they might still be playing small. When you succeed, it forces them to face their own lack of progress. And when you refuse to conform, it irritates those who rely on social approval to feel validated. Some people don't dislike you, they dislike what you represent. Confidence when they feel insecure. Independence when they crave approval. Growth when they are stuck. And that's their problem, not yours. Think of a time when someone reacted negatively to you just for being yourself. Was their reaction really about you, or was it about them? Conformity is a slow death. Epictetus taught that true freedom comes from detachment, from caring more about your own principles than public opinion. The more you bend to others, the more you lose yourself. Consider this: every time you shrink yourself to avoid offending someone, a piece of you disappears. Over time, you become a watered-down version of yourself, acceptable to everyone, but deeply unsatisfied. Would you rather be respected for who you actually are or liked for who you pretend to be? Ask yourself, what's one way you've been diluting your personality just to fit in? What would happen if you stopped? The right people will respect you for being you. Not everyone will like you, and that's a good thing. The people who can't handle your authenticity were never meant to be in your life. The ones who matter will respect you for standing firm in who you are. Stoicism teaches us to live with integrity, to be unwavering in our values and unbothered by the noise of the crowd. If someone takes offense to your truth, let them. Their feelings are not your responsibility. Stop filtering yourself for the comfort of others. The next time you're tempted to hold back, ask yourself, am I being true to myself, or am I trying to please people who don't even matter? If it's the latter, let it go and live unapologetically. Truth number 3, you owe the world nothing except your best self. The myth of obligation: who decided what you should do? From the moment we're born, society bombards us with expectations. You should have a certain kind of career. You should get married and have kids. You should prioritize family over yourself. You should always be agreeable, polite, and accommodating. But here's a question: who decided all of this? And more importantly, why should you care? Stoicism teaches that we are only responsible for what is within our control, and that includes how we choose to live. If you're constantly living by someone else's script, you're not actually living, you're just performing. Do you exist just to fulfill other people's expectations, or are you here to live with purpose and integrity? Virtue is your only true obligation. Epictetus made it clear, no man is free who is not master of himself. Your only real duty in life isn't to please others, it's to live virtuously. That means striving for wisdom, seeking truth instead of blindly following societal norms. Courage, standing firm in your decisions, even when others disapprove. Justice, treating people fairly, not just obeying cultural expectations. Self-discipline, taking responsibility for your own happiness instead of relying on external validation. Notice what's not on that list: seeking approval, living up to someone else's timeline, sacrificing your peace to meet expectations you never agreed to. The world doesn't own you. Your only real debt is to yourself, to become the best version of you, not the version others demand. What's one area of your life where you feel pressured to conform? What would happen if you chose not to? Self-sacrifice isn't always noble. Modern culture romanticizes self-sacrifice. We're told that being selfless is the highest virtue, putting others before ourselves. Always saying yes, always being available. But Stoicism takes a different stance. Being kind, generous, and fair? Absolutely. But martyring yourself for the comfort of others? That's not virtue, that's weakness disguised as nobility. True Stoic virtue comes from balance. It's about giving what is reasonable while protecting your own well-being. If you burn yourself out trying to meet every demand placed on you, what do you have left to offer? Self-respect isn't selfish. Living with integrity isn't arrogance. And setting boundaries doesn't make you a bad person, it makes you a wise one. Have you ever mistaken obligation for virtue? Where can you start setting healthier boundaries today? Live freely, but with purpose. Stoicism isn't about rejecting responsibility, it's about rejecting false responsibility. You owe kindness, fairness, and wisdom to yourself and others. But you don't owe your happiness, time, or peace to meet arbitrary expectations. You have one life. You can spend it performing for others, or you can live it with meaning. The choice is yours. What's one obligation you're letting go of today? Drop it in the comments and take your power back. Truth number 4, weird is just a label for the unconventional. Why being normal is overrated. Think about the people who changed the world: philosophers, inventors, artists, leaders. Were they considered normal in their time? Absolutely not. The greatest minds in history, including the Stoics, were often seen as strange, difficult, or radical. Socrates was called a troublemaker. Epictetus, a former slave, dared to challenge the powerful with his teachings. Marcus Aurelius ruled as emperor, yet spent his free time writing meditations instead of indulging in luxury like his peers. Their commitment to truth and wisdom made them different, and that's exactly why we remember them. Now ask yourself, do you really want to be just like everyone else? Society fears what it doesn't understand. Labels like weird, eccentric, or different are just society's way of saying, you don't fit the mold we created for you, but who said you have to? If you prioritize deep thinking over small talk, you're too serious. If you question traditions, you're too rebellious. If you live by your own values instead of chasing trends, you're out of touch. But here's the truth. The people who criticize you for being different are often the same ones afraid to break free from the crowd. They need the illusion of sameness to feel secure. The Stoics didn't seek approval, they sought wisdom and virtue. If that made them outsiders, so be it. Have you ever held yourself back just to fit in? What did it cost you? What's so great about being normal anyway? Stoicism teaches us to question assumptions, and this is a big one. Why is being normal considered a good thing? If normal means following the crowd without thinking, hiding your true self, and avoiding discomfort at all costs, then maybe being weird is the only sane choice. Seneca wrote, "Associate with people who are likely to improve you." In other words, surround yourself with those who respect your authenticity, not those who want to water it down. Would you rather be forgettable or real? Because the world doesn't remember those who blend in, it remembers those who dare to stand out. Ask yourself, if you stopped caring about being normal, what would you do differently today? Own your uniqueness. If being true to yourself makes you weird, then embrace it. The Stoics didn't live for validation, they lived for excellence. So the next time someone calls you different, take it as a compliment. It means you're not just another copy-paste version of what society expects. You're thinking, evolving, and living on your terms. What's one weird thing about you that you're proud of? Drop it in the comments and own it. Truth number 5, not everyone deserves an explanation. Why do we feel the need to explain ourselves? There's an unspoken rule in society that says we owe people explanations for our choices. If you turn down an invitation, you must have a valid excuse. If you change careers, you need to justify it to everyone. If you set a boundary, you're expected to explain why. But who decided this? And more importantly, why do we feel obligated to prove ourselves to people who may not even have our best interests at heart? The Stoics would say this is just another form of external validation, seeking approval for things that don't require it. Ask yourself, are you explaining because you want to or because you feel pressured to? Not everyone is entitled to your reasons. Epictetus reminds us, if someone succeeds in provoking you, realize that your mind is complicit in the provocation. This applies to feeling pressured into explaining yourself. Often, people demand explanations not because they genuinely care, but because they want control, gossip, or validation of their own opinions. Some people question your decisions just to challenge them. Some want to manipulate you into doing what they think is right. Some simply feel entitled to details about your life. But here's the truth, you don't owe everyone access to your thoughts. Your reasons belong to you, and you get to decide who, if anyone, deserves to hear them. Think of a time when you felt pressured to justify your decision. Did the other person really need an explanation, or were they just looking for control? Silence is a power move. In Meditations, Marcus Aurelius reminds us that we should live in a way that makes explanations unnecessary. Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be one. Your actions are enough. You don't need to defend yourself to those who aren't willing to listen with respect. Instead of explaining, practice quiet confidence. If someone asks why you declined an invite, say, "It doesn't work for me." If someone demands to know why you set a boundary, say, "Because I decided to." If someone challenges your life choices, say, "This is what's right for me." No over-explaining, no justifying. Just standing firm in your decision. Ask yourself, how often do you explain yourself out of habit? What would happen if you simply stated your decision and moved on? Protect your energy. Not everyone deserves your explanations because not everyone has earned access to your mind. The Stoics teach us to focus our energy on what we can control, our actions, our mindset, and our peace. So next time someone demands an explanation you don't owe them, remember, your life is yours. You are not obligated to make it make sense to others. This week, practice saying less. Set a boundary without explaining. Decline an invite without justification, and watch how freeing it feels. Truth number 6, self-respect is greater than social approval. The never-ending trap of validation. Most people spend their lives chasing approval. They crave likes, compliments, and the reassurance that they are accepted by the crowd. But here's the problem: seeking validation is like drinking salt water. It might feel satisfying for a moment, but it only makes you thirstier in the long run. The more you rely on external approval, the more powerless you become. Your happiness is no longer in your hands. It's in the hands of people who can withdraw their approval at any time. The Stoics saw this for what it is, a distraction. Marcus Aurelius warned against it in Meditations, saying, "It never ceases to amaze me. We all love ourselves more than other people, but care more about their opinions than our own." So ask yourself, are you living for your own principles, or are you just trying to keep the crowd happy? Why social approval is overrated? Here's the hard truth. No matter what you do, someone will disagree. Someone will disapprove. Someone will think you should be doing things differently. If you follow tradition, people will say you're unoriginal. If you break tradition, people will call you rebellious. If you focus on yourself, they'll call you selfish. If you focus on others, they'll say you're not ambitious enough. See the pattern? You can't win by playing the approval game. The rules constantly shift, and you're never truly in control. The only way to escape is to stop playing altogether. Think of a time when you changed your actions to gain approval. Did it actually make you happier? Or just more dependent on other people's opinions? Self-respect is the only real freedom. Epictetus, a former slave turned philosopher, had every reason to seek social approval. His survival once depended on it. But his philosophy rejected that way of living. Instead, he taught that true freedom comes from self-mastery, from knowing who you are and standing by it regardless of what others think. When you respect yourself, you don't need constant reassurance from others. When you live by your own values, you stop worrying about being liked. When you focus on character over popularity, you become untouchable. Would you rather be liked for pretending to be someone else or respected for being your authentic self? Ask yourself, if no one was watching, no social media, no audience, no approval, how would you live differently? Live for yourself, not the applause. Marcus Aurelius said it best, "It is not death that a man should fear, but he should fear never beginning to live." Are you actually living or just trying to be accepted? Stop handing your self-worth over to people who don't live your life. Their approval is temporary, but self-respect? That lasts forever. This week, do one thing just for you, not for approval, not for validation, but because it aligns with who you truly are. See how it feels to live on your own terms. Truth number 7, life's too short to apologize for breathing. Memento mori, the ultimate reality check. Memento mori, remember you will die. The Stoics didn't view this as a depressing thought. They saw it as liberation. It's a reminder that your time is limited, and every moment wasted on self-doubt or unnecessary apologies is a moment you'll never get back. Think about it, how much of your life has been spent apologizing for things that don't even require an apology? Saying sorry for having an opinion, apologizing for setting boundaries, feeling guilty for simply existing in a way that others don't approve of. Why do we do this? Because we've been conditioned to believe that being unapologetically ourselves is somehow offensive. But here's the truth, you don't owe the world an apology for simply being. The fear of disapproval is a waste of time. Marcus Aurelius, the philosopher king, wrote in Meditations, "You could leave life right now." Let that determine what you do and say and think. If you truly embrace that idea, what would change? Would you still hold yourself back worrying about what people think? Would you still apologize for taking up space? Would you still shrink yourself to make others more comfortable? The time you waste on guilt, over-explaining, and seeking approval is time you could be using to live fully. Every second spent apologizing for being yourself is a second stolen from the life you're meant to live. If you had only 1 year left to live, what would you stop apologizing for today? Live now before it's too late. The Stoics had a radical way of looking at time. The past is gone. The future is uncertain, and the only thing you have control over is this moment, right now. So why waste it? Why keep dimming your light to make others comfortable? Why hold back your thoughts for fear of judgment? Why live cautiously when life itself is uncertain? Seneca put it bluntly, life is long enough if you know how to use it. But if you spend it apologizing for existing, you'll reach the end wondering why you didn't live on your terms. Ask yourself, what's one way you can start living unapologetically today? Own your existence. At the end of your life, do you want to look back and realize you spent most of it apologizing? Or do you want to know you lived fully, without regret, without unnecessary guilt, and without fear? Memento mori is not a threat, it's an invitation. An invitation to stop apologizing and start living. Drop one thing in the comments that you're done apologizing for. Own it. Life's too short to shrink yourself for the comfort of others. So, which of these Stoic truths spoke to you the most? Drop a comment below. And if you're ready to embrace more Stoic wisdom in your daily life, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. Stay strong, stay Stoic, and never apologize for being you.